Imagine being one of the most not overrated but overhated players in the NBA. That's my man right here, Russell Westbrook. And listen, I'm gonna share his backstory, the story behind the glory, stuff you've never known about this dude, to where he's come now, broken the record for triple doubles and so much more. But what this guy has gone through, the hate that he has had, and his backstory growing up in Compton with his dad coming out of prison, people dying right in front of him. We're gonna hear all about this on today's show. And what inspired this even more is my son, little Gil. Russell Westbrook, thank you. He's his favorite player. My son's 9. Westbrook inspires him to work his butt off, and we got the chance to meet him at the game, the LA Clippers game against the Mavericks. I think that was just about a month ago. We had courtside seats for his birthday, and the clip went viral. My son giving him a huge hug. It was such a special and amazing moment. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Westbrook. And let's go into this. He was raised in Compton. Westbrook's dad was just out of prison a little while after Westbrook was born for drug charges, and his dad made a vow to not go back to prison again, and then saw his friend gunned down on the streets, which really solidified this vow of not going back to that life. But even more importantly, we're going to make sure we do everything I can to keep my son out of that life. And that led to them starting to play basketball. And when Westbrook started, you're going to see this like pattern throughout him. Is he wasn't the most skilled, he wasn't the tallest, but this dude was willing to always outwork everyone. And even like when his dad got him in one of the first leagues there in Compton, the coach said the same thing. They're like, this guy, like, he's not the most talented on my team, but he works harder than everyone else on the team. All right. Then they said that he started shooting like 500 shots a day as a kid, practicing. No matter what, he's putting in 500 shots a day. All right. You see where this is going? So something else with his parents, I love this. They didn't really let him use the word I can't. They had him have this why not me mentality. Instead of I can't, instead of why me, why not me? I love that. You'll see where that carries later on into his life, even into his message and his purpose. Something we all should think about. Mindset. Plant those seeds in your children early. So we move forward now, going into the high school years. By the way, freshman year, bench, didn't make varsity. Sophomore year, benched, didn't make varsity. He didn't even start like growing till his junior year. But before that, there was a huge thing of adversity that happened with death. I'm talking about his best friend, Kelsey Bars. I believe he lived like across the street from him or was his neighbor, and they were playing ball together every day. Now, Kelsey, on the other hand, already was like 6'6" and a phenomenon, and already had people in high school scouting him out while Westbrook was still being benched. But Westbrook was such a hard worker. They were friends on and off the court, best friends, and they played pickup ball together all the time, and they had a vision together. They weren't even seeing the NBA yet. They were like, we just want to get off Compton, off the streets, and had a vision of both of them going to UCLA together. Well, during one of those games that they're playing, he has a freak heart attack at age 16. His best friend drops dead, dies from complications with an enlarged heart. Rather than just giving up and throwing in the towel, Westbrook makes a freaking vow in this moment. He's like, I'm going to triple down on everything and do this not only for me, but for my man Kelsey, and his spirit is going to live through me through this. And people say that's where this whole other level of beast and passion and stuff that you see on the court in every play comes from. But he already had that even before this. Anyway, it's his junior year. Now Westbrook finally grows. He's like 6'3" and makes varsity for the first time. He does pretty good his junior year, but he's not like getting recognition or scouts coming to look at him for colleges because no one really knew who this dude was. It wasn't till his senior year that he starts making a name for himself and getting recognition, happens to get a full ride into UCLA. Boom, we go there, freshman year, UCLA, doesn't do much. Sits on the bench a lot. Has a lot to learn, a lot to work on, and isn't great, isn't terrible, just kind of, So at the end of the season, the coach tells them, like he tells every other player, work on this in the offseason, especially Westbrook, you need to work on your dribbling and your passing. And the coach is like, I don't expect most of my players to really work that hard on the summer. They forgot who they were talking to. Westbrook works in the offseason on this relentlessly. He comes back his sophomore year, and I'm checking this out because I made so many notes here. They also told him to work on his jump shot. Now he comes back more developed, and what happened was the point guard gets injured who starts for UCLA. So now Westbrook needs to step in and fill in, and he's freaking ready because he's been putting the time in behind the scenes. Comes back in and starts freaking killing it, getting recognition. After 9 games, the starting point guard is better, so he comes back in. And rather than Westbrook complaining, why aren't you letting me continue to start? I'm doing amazing. Nope. He puts his head down, and the coach is like, I'm going to try you at shooting guard. I'm going to try you here. Westbrook goes, does it, just keeps freaking trying his hardest, trying harder every play, not complaining, continuing to grit, continuing to persevere, continuing to freaking put it in, all the effort, 120% every time. I get passionate about this stuff. I love underdogs like this. Now listen, after his sophomore year, he starts getting recognition and gets drafted into the NBA. So his first year in the NBA, it's not that great. You see the patterns here. And it's not terrible, but people are like, I don't think this dude's ready really for the level of the NBA. Well, then all of a sudden they get a new coach. And the coach continues to work with him on all these different areas. And you see, and of course, Westbrook's just working his butt off all the time behind the scenes, always. Then all of a sudden you see him, he gets a 31-point career high game, rookie of the month, then gets a triple-double, but their team still finished with a 3rd worst record in the league. All right? I love underdogs like this. I freaking love it. Anyway, so then Westbrook starts teaming up with his dude, Kevin Durant, which, by the way, there's so many clips on them. They were boys back in the day. Now they have a whole quarrel. That's another story I'm not going to get into. But when they were boys, Kevin Durant speaks the world of him. There's one speech where he's like in tears saying how much he loves him. Right now, it's not going so well between them, but that's another story for another day, and it sort of makes sense. Anyway, I can see why Westbrook's a little mad at him. Okay, so they knew Durant was amazing, and they were like triple teaming him and stuff all the time. And so Westbrook would shoot even more than usual. And even when he didn't have the highest shooting percentage, people were starting to hate on him and being like, why are you shooting so much? Why are you blah, 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 blah? And they weren't comprehending what he was actually doing until he got freaking hurt. Where Westbrook, what did he do? He tears his right meniscus, tears it in the middle of a game. This dude still finishes the game out. Imagine that, with a torn right meniscus finishing the game. I think the only other dude that tore something like that was Kobe Bryant, finished the game. Anyway, and what they start noticing immediately was when he was taken out, what he was being criticized for, well, all of a sudden, boom, everyone starts just triple teaming, quadruple teaming Durant at every level where he can't even get like a freaking shot off. So what they noticed, without Westbrook, Durant wasn't able to do what he was able to do. All right, let's keep going. So he gets better. Westbrook, the most overhated player. You see how much hate he gets. You'll see times of him snapping, viral clips of him going off on news reporters, on fans. But if you see it, it's a lot of times the fans being freaking super nasty to him, or the reporters being such haters and critics, and him just being like, what? Like, why are you asking such stupid questions? A lot of it's actually pretty amazing. But this dude gets a lot of hate. And what I noticed is also they seem to forget this guy, Westbrook, holds the record for the most triple doubles ever. Actually, the record held for something like 45 years. I forget who the previous player was. But not only did Westbrook go on to kill that record, but as of now, when I'm filming this show, Westbrook has 198 triple doubles. He's about to break 200, which is freaking unheard of. That in itself is just insanity, and it shows how hard this dude works. All right, now here's something else that's cool about my man Westbrook. So his basketball season, he has not won a championship, but he's on the path to becoming a billionaire. And there's only a few other NBA players in history that have done that. I think Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, LeBron James. I'm sure Steph Curry will be doing that eventually, but he hasn't yet. Russell Westbrook grinds on the side. That's why I say there's different levels of your purpose, different seasons, and he's not done yet. But what I loved about it is he said, my next thing I'm doing is I'm gonna be a billionaire. And when they asked, how can you do this? Why you? Of course, his answer, going back to what his parents taught him, why not me? Which, by the way, is one of the organizations and charities that he opened. It's called the Why Not Foundation, that helps with so much. Helps like with education with inner city children. You can look it up, and so much more. Dude, this guy grinds. He's been building businesses like car dealerships. Also, I think his net worth right now is already like 470 million. Some of those being from his contracts with Nike, where he actually, I believe, made more than Michael Jordan made, which is freaking crazy with shoes. Dude, this guy is the most overhated player. The more I studied him as a person, not only do I respect him for that amazing moment he gave my son, but what this dude continues to do. But then real players love him. And the real people that know him, if you see my posts that went viral, one on Facebook, 4 million views, the one on Instagram, 2 million views. If you read the comments, 99.9% are all positive. There's only like 0.01% of hate. And maybe we'll be able to pop some of those up on here. But most of the people are like, you see, Westbrook is so overhated, and look how much love he shows. He's the real deal. People are like writing stories. Same thing happened to me. I met him with my daughter. He was so nice. He's the real deal to those that respect him. You hear what I just said? To those that respect him. Because this dude, it's more important to him to be respected than to be liked, which is what I talk about all the time. And all these people that are sitting there hating on this guy, he's talking, they're like, how do you feel that you haven't achieved winning a championship? And he's like, well, of course I want to win a championship, but I felt like I wasn't even going to ever get off the streets. And I got off the streets and into an amazing college with a full ride scholarship. He's like, then I didn't think after that, I made it into the NBA. Into the NBA. No one thought I would do that. That was a huge achievement. Then I built up a platform. Then I broke the record for triple doubles. And he didn't even go into his net worth and his businesses. he was talking about the foundation he's built, what he's been able to do with a platform. And now he's like, yep, my next step, I'm going to be a billionaire, because why not me? And something else I want to say on leadership, you can find clips. Not only is he respected from the real fans, but the real players respect him. Watch clips. You can pull it up here on YouTube of Charles Barkley talking about him, of Kobe Bryant. There's an interview where they ask him, is there any young players that remind you of you at all? And he's like, Westbrook. That dude goes out there and gives it 120% every moment of every play of every game and trains his butt off. He's like, he's got that grit, that determination, that fierceness. He's like, that reminds me a lot of me. Coming from Kobe, then coming from Charles Barkley, who said he's never, I'm reading this exactly, I read it, he's never seen a player, this is crazy, give maximum effort in every single play like Westbrook. And they're like, what about Michael Jordan? Barkley played with Jordan, they're boys. He's like, no, not even Michael Jordan. Of course, Michael Jordan was better at other things, more championships, but he says when it comes to the maximum effort given, I've never seen anyone like Westbrook, ever. Coming from Charles Barkley, that's insane. Then, something else that I heard too, on leadership, because this dude gets so much hate. One of his players that played with him, Paul George, on Westbrook, talking about when he was on the team that was the Supersonics, then it became the Oklahoma team. He said he was an amazing leader because what he would do, he would have conversations with everyone on the team, like really getting to know them. He said, including Steve-O, this dude that was from New Zealand, and Westbrook would talk to him about New Zealand stuff like rugby. And then Paul was like, also, he would talk to me about stuff that only he could have known by getting to know me that I'm like doing, like fishing. And he would be into it. And he said he would talk to Jeremy Grant about things like anime. And he's like, what was cool about this is I've worked with a lot of other star players, and they weren't pricks necessarily, but they had like 3 or 4 dudes who they'd be really close to on the team. And the rest of them, they wouldn't really treat bad, but they didn't really take the time to get to know them. But Westbrook did. And he said, and when they went out on the court, that added this whole other type of special like chemistry that other people couldn't do. See, this guy's even overlooked as a leader. Like, it's crazy. And thinking about the records he broke for the triple-double, something else I got to point out too, you'll see there's a wristband he wears all the time that says KB3. That's for his friend Kelsey, I told you, that died at age 16. He's always playing, ongoing for him, passionate for him. But now as we're coming to this whole why not, net worth $470 million. Dude owns car dealerships, has sold them. Also, he even invests in a show that was on the History Channel. Like, this guy's continuing to make moves. He's going to be a billionaire. Also, he owns a multimedia marketing company. Not to mention, what else was it? The Why Not Foundation, real estate investments, and I forget what the clothing line is. He owns a clothing line, and he's continuing to learn more, some of these trial and error business on the side to build that billionaire status. And his story's not over yet. That's why I say you don't only have one purpose. There's different seasons, different levels of your purpose from this kid in Compton who's an underdog. Counted out. Success leaves clues, ladies and gentlemen. The story behind the glory, not the most skilled. He didn't come up from the wealthiest upbringing. He didn't have the best coaches. He went through adversity. He watched his best friend die right in front of him. He was benched freshman year, sophomore year. He didn't grow till his junior year. Finally makes it in the NBA, isn't that good at first. Starts doing good, then freaking tears his knee, has to have 3 surgeries. The correlation you continue to see in this dude is faith, grit, and hard work, showing you that with a whole why not me mentality, that anything is possible. It's not about skill or talent or circumstances. I tell you guys this all the time. If you don't believe me, watch my man, Russell Westbrook. This is today's show of Elevating Beyond, the story behind the glory, a tribute to my man, Russell Westbrook, who I have the utmost respect for. I love you and thank you. Thank you for that moment that you gave to my son. I got choked up thinking about it. I'll never forget that, my man. I love you. I look forward to having you sitting here next to me one day for a future show as we talk about you hitting that billionaire status and we're talking business, my brother. I love it. Everyone, never settle, never give up, and keep elevating beyond.